click. Now you'll see that an error has occurred. The reason is now it is conflicting with the another post method. So now there are two post method. One is add product, another is add product like. So there is a conflict between these two. So whenever there is a conflict, then it will, or basically whenever based on the request, if there are two corresponding one or more corresponding matches of action method, then it will throw an exception. So remember that whenever you are adding multiple post method, multiple get method, then there is a possibility of conflict. You have to check that, because now there are two methods with the two action method that matches the request, and that's why it is throwing an exception. So this is the exception message, and so temporarily we will comment out one of the method, and once again we retry it. Once again, from the postman tool, we select the post request. This is the URL, and depending upon the type of data, you can specify via this content type method. So suppose I want to send the data in XML format, I need to set this content type to be application/XML. And body we have to send the data. So right now only a simple integer product ID value that we are sending, and a new product is created with ID 4, name not assigned, and price 0. So this is what we have tested all the methods. Now we'll move on to the what are the return type for the action method. So we already seen void. Then you can have primitive type like integer, float, double, or you can have complex types like product, employee, student. In addition to that, we have two more types like HTTP response message, and one is any class which is implementing iHTTP, or if it is of type iHTTP action result. So these are the four possible return value of the action method in our web API controller class. So here in this method void is used. Then by default it will return the HTTP response message containing the status code 204 always. Okay, so you have to remember when you are using void, see that it will always return the status code 204, and the description is no content. Now this is the example action method in which we are using the HTTP response message as the return value of our action method. Get product with ID. So if I want to search the product with the given ID, then I can iterate through the entire product list. And if it is found, then we can use this request object and its method, create static method, create response to generate the object of type HTTP response message. So it will create an HTTP response message with this given status code. So there are predefined status code available. You can directly use them. HTTP status code.ok. And as part of the request body, I want to pass the product object, which I have just found. Okay, so this is the second parameter value. And if we do not find any product with the matching ID, then we will create an error response. Once again, it is an HTTP response message with the status code. Now it is not found. And within the body, we are sending a string which contains the error message. So this is the customization possible with the framework, right? Here you can customize the status code, and even the return value you can customize. So your HTTP response message, basically it is a strongly typed within the web API framework, and ultimately it will be converted to the HTTP response of the HTTP protocol. So this is the type in the C#. So here in this assembly, it is the type. but it will be converted to the HTTP response that will be received by the client. So using these two methods, create response or create error response, you can create the HTTP response message. I hope that this is clear. And here you can have multiple status code available. You can directly use them. HTTP status code dot OK not found. Uh, then you have internal server error and other status codes are there, forbidden and so forth. So let us see this. Suppose I want to search the product with the ID 3. I specify the accept that I can understand. That means client can understand that the data type in application slash JSON. Any question, Vimal? And what we get, okay, we get, this is the response. Within the response, the status code is 200, okay. And as part of the response body, okay, as part of the response body, we should get the product with the ID 3, whose name is, product name is mouse and product price is 400. And now if I specify the product ID which doesn't exist, then we are getting the response message 404 not found, and it contains an object or JSON object with the one of the property, one of the field called message with value product ID with product with ID 5 doesn't exist. So this is how we have customized this thing. Okay, this error message we have customized. What should be the error message? So specifically, you can change the status code according to the response, and you can customize the error message also. You can write down your own error message based on your application functionality, right? Next is the one of the type is fourth type is IHTTP action result. So you can easily use the some of the method of the API controller. So previously we have seen this. This is the method called OK, not found. And additionally, you can pass the parameter, optional parameter. This parameter value will go inside the response body. Okay. So I want to search the product. If I know the ID, it should search in the entire product list, or you can use the link query. You can use the link. Right now I have iterating through all the products, and then if I find the product with the given ID, and then I am sending the response that okay, and as part of the response body I am sending the product object. And if it is not found, we can send this message not found 404 status code 404, and description would be not found. So these are internally implementing this interface. Basically, they are of type IHTTP action result. And there are a few more like bad request, conflict, content created, internal server error, not found. Okay, okay. These are redirect and unauthorized. These are some few commonly used status code in our web application. Okay, yeah. And now what if I want to create my own object? Okay, if I want to create my own object that will implement this IHTTP action result. So create our custom class called HTTP action result, which is implementing this interface. It should have two, like one property called message, another is status code of type this. These are read only, both are read only, the message and status code. Within the constructor, we initialize them. Okay, we initialize these two fields, message and status code, and it contains this IHTTP action result contains this method execute async. Okay, execute async. So wherein basically we have to create the HTTP response message. So inside that we are creating HTTP response message, the object of type HTTP response message, wherein we initialize it with the status code, and one of the property content to be the string content, which is created from the message, this message. So I think this syntax, while creating a new object, you can also initialize the properties of the object. So in C Sharp, this is the one of the syntax wherein while creation time, you can also initialize the uh, properties of the object. Now, here these tasks are used. Are you familiar with the task in C Sharp? There is a, TPL, task parallel library. So basically, it is an extension of a thread library. Okay, it is an extension of thread library. Nowadays, TPL is widely used for performing the executing multiple threads instead of using threads. Now, this TPL is used, task parallel library, for concurrent execution of multiple threads. So they call it as a task. So here there is a little bit of introduction of the task parallel library, where they define the concept of task, which is nothing but an asynchronous operation. Okay, it defines or represents an asynchronous operation. So previously threads were used, thread or thread pool were used, but now this tasks are used, and it has provision of running multiple tasks or multiple tasks parallelly. Or what are the benefits of TPL? It is more efficient and more scalable use of the system resources. So they have basically done some optimization while implementing this TPL. And internally, what they are doing, they are queuing this task to the thread pool. And like I told you, some algorithms modifications are done to enhance the performance of the system. Internally, it might create threads and it will perform the load balancing to maximize the throughput. So this is some benefit of this TPL. It will increase the throughput, and that's way they are more lightweight. These tasks are more lightweight, and you will get the fine grain parallelism. Okay. And second benefit is you get more programmatic control over the task compared to what you get with the thread or work item. And there are many API support in form of task waiting, task cancellation, task continuation, exception handling, detailed status code, and scheduling, and so forth. So I hope that these are the terminology related with the threads also. Like you can create thread, you can stop thread, you can continue thread, you can wait for other thread to finish. So these are the common operations that can be performed with the thread. Similarly, similar operations you can perform with the task, and it provides more features or more operations to deal with the task. and internal implementation is efficient. And you will see this. I have taken it from the official documentation. That's why they call it TPL is the preferred API for writing multi-threaded, asynchronous, and parallel code in .NET. So you can refer to the official documentation for more details and more examples of how these tasks are used. So here the tasks are used because now this is execute operation is asynchronous, and that's why these tasks are used. The return value is task, and it is a generic task of type HTTP response message. And you can create this using the task dot from result. So whatever response that we have created, this response is nothing but HTTP response message, which will contain a status code and the body. Status code is what we have initialized, and body is nothing but the body is all the body content we are also initializing. Okay, so basically we'll see that in constructor we provide not only the status code but also the content that we should pass as the HTTP response message. So again, this is for further customization. Normally you don't require this. Most of the thing can be easily, you can map it with the existing or standard codes like 404 not found, okay, content created, forbidden, unauthorized. So standard, you should match it with the map it with the standard status code. And if it is specific which is not available in that standard status code, you can go with this customized response message. You can create your own class which implements this IHTTP action result, and you can use it whenever you want to as the return type of your action method. So this is one of the method like get product name by the ID. So I want to search the product by its ID, and I want to and its return type is IHTTP action result. So once again, search in our product list. If it is found, then you can use this HTTP action result that we have our own object of our own class which implements this interface. And here we provide the custom status code and the data that will be sent back to the client. So here we are sending, instead of sending the product itself, we are sending the message that the product exists, or you can send the product data as part of the body directly. But right now we'll see that we are sending this message only because how we have defined our class that message is a string. Okay, message is the string type. So that's why here we have to provide the string message, okay, string data. And this is the built-in built-in method that will return the object of type IHTTP action result. Okay, it will implement object that is implementing this interface. So they are directly many of the time you can use this most of the time. Now we are testing that whether it is working fine or not. Suppose I want to search the product with the ID 2. We are getting the response okay, and as part of the response body, we see the message that product with ID 2 found. And if the product with ID 5 doesn't exist, the status code is 404 not found. Okay. So this is the built-in not found method. Okay. So any doubts so far? How to use this? How to create the post request? How to change the name of the action method, which doesn't begin with the HTTP verb? Then how to pass the data inside the URL, or how to pass the data inside the HTTP request body. You can use the developer tool or some other tools like Postman or Fiddler, or even the developer tools of the browser. Then what we have seen, the different return type of the action method. You can go for the void, but for the void always it will return the 204 no content. Second, you can return the primitive type, primitive or complex type, that will be passed as the response body, or you can create the HTTP response message using the static method like create response or create error response. And fourth one is you can create the custom class, which will through which you can specify the status code and the response both. There, here we are specifically overriding this. Basically, not overriding. We are implementing the method execute async, which is available in the defined in the interface IHTTP action result. And there is also a parameter called cancellation token. So in case if you want to cancel the task, then you can use this cancellation token. So again, these details would be required if you are using task. Okay, if you are using task parallel library, then you can use this. So if you want to cancel the running thread, then you can use this cancellation token. And directly, if you want to create the HTTP response message, you can also do this via this by creating the object of this HTTP response message. But if you want to customize as a last resource, you can implement this method in your own class. Otherwise, you can go with the standard. You can directly create the HTTP response message, specify the status code, specify the content. So this is the property of the HTTP response message. If I have, I will show you the properties of this. Okay. Just a minute, I am searching for that documentation. So for a reference, let us see this HTTP response message. So this is the HTTP response message class, which is derived from system.object. This is available in the namespace system.net.http. Okay. Internally, it implements this iDisposable interface. What are the properties? Content is nothing but the body of the HTTP response message. You can get or set using this property. It will also contain the header. It will have property is success status code. That means if the operation was successful or not. Okay. Reason phrase is nothing but the description of the status code, like okay, for 200 okay, then we have the 404 not found. So this is the reason phrase.